Good morning. My name is Jackie Mulzerall, and I am Dean of Saunders College of Business at RIT. And welcome to our 2024 Gasser Lecture Series. A special thank you to our interpreters today. We are so proud of the access services that are found here at RIT. I also want to do a special shout out to Gabby Palmer and Leah Giassi, as well as our army of volunteers that are making today possible and making this a wonderful event. For our students out there, I hope you will consider entering our Vandenbrüel Student Entrepreneurship Award, including $5,000 in prizes to fuel your business pursuits. Please check out our website for details. Good, we've got some people that are applying. The Gasser Lecture Series is hosted by Saunders College of Business as a continuing forum for our students, alumni, and friends. For the past 12 years, Gasser has been bringing the world's top business minds here to RIT. This is made possible by a gift from the late John Wiley Jones, former honorary member of the RIT Board of Trustees and founder of Jones Chemicals. His gift is in memory of William Gasser, an accounting lecturer at RIT who inspired many. For today's talk, we kindly request no audio or visual recordings. We are so excited for our keynote speaker today, Erica Ayers-Baden. She will be sharing her thoughts and experience in her talk titled after her latest book, Nobody Cares About Your Career. Erica is currently serving as CEO at Foods 52, a global community that connects experts and amateur chefs. She was formerly the CEO of the digital media company Barstool Sports. Her highly anticipated book was published this past summer, Nobody Cares About Your Career, Why Failure is Good, The Great Ones Play Hurt, and Other Hard Truths. Erica was named Barstool's CEO in 2016 and oversaw the company's expansion into multimedia, merchandising, streaming, and pay-per-view programming. Under her leadership, Barstool Sports grew by 5,000% to $450 million by 2020. Since 2018, she has been recognized in many notable rankings, including one of the most creative people in business by Fast Company and most powerful woman in sports by Forbes and Adweek. Erica currently serves on the boards of Axon and Premier Lacrosse. She has previously been on the board of directors for World Wrestling Entertainment and Torchy's Tacos. Erica is a frequent public speaker, including talks at the Milken Institute, CAA World Congress, MIT Sloan Sports Conference, and G2E Las Vegas. She began her career working at Fidelity Investments, so you can go anywhere. Prior to Barstool, she held executive marketing positions at Yahoo, Microsoft, and AOL. She has a bachelor's degree in sociology from Colby College. Please join me in welcoming Erica Ayers-Baden.
Ready? Can you guys hear me? Is this on? Can you guys hear me? All right. So I'm excited about this. I'm going to go through a presentation on marketing. I'm going to talk about nobody cares about your career and the belief that I have that you should fail always. And then before that, I wanted to play a quick video. And does anyone here know Barstool Sports? All right. So we're going to start with Barstool Sports, and we'll go from there. Oh boy. Hold on.
In this league, expectations are high, so you gotta put in the work. That's why I soak in Dr. Teal's to ease my aches and pains and recharge my body, so I can always go harder tomorrow. Dr.
We're back, live, Times Square. I've been here for about 2 months. We've been looking for a CEO the entire time. Here's what I learned. This is a man city. We need somebody with big ass balls, dragging on the ground, alpha male, go into a meeting, command the room. We have found, and I mean we have found our CEO, our boss, a masculine boy. Ooh. Ooh.
Hey, mommy.
We have found our man after a search long and hard. Every big ass bald dude in the city came and said, I want to run Barstool. I said, we need somebody who can control the city. Finally, the day has come to announce our new CEO, my boss, big old balls, Erica Nardini.
Erica Nardini, CEO Barstool. So that's that. All right, now the real miracle, there we go. Can you guys see that? All right, great. So the first thing is that I can't do two things at once, but my cousin was deaf, so I would say my cousin, right? No? Cousin? Deaf, and then RIT. So my cousin went to RIT. So I'm really, really, really excited to be here. And what I'm hoping to share with you is a little bit about what I've learned professionally, what I've been able to accomplish in my career, and then my hope for you. Hold on, I gotta make it full screen. Gabby's gonna kill me if I can't figure that out, which is gonna be a little bit difficult. Yeah, there we go. So what I've learned in my career, what I've done in my career, I am a mid-chapter person. I think most people in life are mid-chapter people, and what it means to be a mid-chapter person is that you are in the middle of things. You're trying to figure things out, you're trying to figure out who you are, you're trying a lot of things, you're doing a lot of things. I'm still not in presentation mode, but you're gonna be fine with that. And that's important because what it means is that you are on a journey to become a different and a more evolved version of yourself. I wrote a book called Nobody Cares About Your Career. I was just telling your dean that I got a DM from somebody who was like, oh, my mom says this really depressing book showed up in my inbox, or in my mailbox, and the daughter was saying, it's not depressing, it's meant to be freeing. And the reality is that everyone in this room is going to have a big career, a small career, an irrelevant career, a special career, but what really, really matters is that you create the career for you, and that all that matters is that you are on a journey where you are growing and evolving and becoming a more accomplished version of yourself by your own standard. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is what I've spent the last decade doing. So when I got to Barstool Sports, there were 12 people. They kind of talked to Dave Portnoy. They were mostly afraid of him. They wore like dirty sweatpants every day. They worked out of their basements, and they knew to blog every 30 minutes. And what we did was we built Barstool Sports into a juggernaut. So Barstool Sports, when I got there, I think had 5,000 followers. It was a blog. And today, Barstool has 250 million followers. It's the top 5 brand in the world on TikTok. Is anyone watching the Brianna Chicken Fries Zach Bryan thing? It's crazy. I was like obsessed with that last night. But Barstool is making culture, it is creating the conversation, it is setting the topics and tones that 18 to 34-year-olds care about. And as a result, we grew the business an extraordinary amount. When I took the job at Barstool, I got fired from every board that I was on. I was told by most people I knew that I was committing career suicide, and I was distanced. A lot of people close to me distanced themselves because Barstool was quite controversial. It was certainly very unproven, and I think it was wildly misunderstood. And as a result, for me personally, it changed my life, it changed my career, it changed how I think about the world and how I see the internet. But it also put me in a position that I'm so grateful for, which is that I had my back against the wall, and all I could do was to make Barstool Sports a success. And I think that is a great place to be in your career. What we did at Barstool Sports is we made a world, right? We built alcohol brands. Does anyone here drink High Noon? Is old enough to drink High Noon? High Noons. We made t-shirts, we made videos, we made live events, we made shows, we made fun of people, we made pizza. Like, there wasn't anything we didn't make because we were singularly obsessed with serving this 18 to 34-year-old customer. And that obsession, I think, is incredibly, incredibly important. And the bigger thing, even to being obsessed, is to be relentless about being authentic. I try to be really authentic about who I am, what I do, what I have to say, what I have to learn, where I suck, what I need to develop. And the more you can be authentic and honest about who you are, where you are, what you're trying to do, how you want to achieve it, where you're falling short, the more people will join in with you. Part of the reason Barstool Sports was so successful and will continue to be so successful is exactly what's happening with Brianna Chicken Fry right now, which is she's going through a very weird, ugly breakup with a very big celebrity, and she's talking about the journey. And she's doing so in a way that is very, very authentic. I tried to run the company that way. Dave Portnoy thinks that way about pizza reviews and dogs and you name it. And so the more you can be authentic, whether you're going to be an engineer, whether you're going to be in marketing, whether you work at the university, the more you can show up as you are, be relentlessly focused on your customer, whoever that customer may be, and the more obsessive and diligent you are about delivering and learning for them, the more successful you will be. The reason authenticity is so important, I think, is because it requires you to be honest. You have to be honest not just with others about what you represent and who you are and what you have to give, but more importantly, it requires you to be honest with yourself. And that can be hard. Being authentic is very risky, right? It comes with haters. It comes with disagreements. It comes with rejection. But I really believe we are in an era of authenticity. We're in an era of opinion. And the more you can harness that and be confident in it, the more successful and more fulfilled, even more importantly, that you will be. What I've learned most in marketing is that if you're not authentic, no one will believe you. It also means you really have to listen to your customer and your partner. It could be your boss, it could be your professor, it could be someone you work with, could be your parents, could be at your job. Really, truly listening to your customer is critical. And one of the things I see a lot of is, at Barstool, we went up against a lot of companies who were much, much, much bigger than we were. And the reason we were able to be competitive was, one, because we were fearless, two, because we were authentic, but three, it was because we really listened to our fans. And I think that we're in an era right now where you're just scrolled on your phone, like your head is permanently bent down on your phone, that people are not looking at one another and they're not talking to one another, and most importantly, they're not listening to one another. And the more you can listen to your customer, to your partner, to your manager, to your boss, to people who are looking up to you, the better things will be. We thought of our customers as fans, and what we really spent all of our time thinking about was, what does our fan want? In our case, and I think this is true for a lot of people here, people wanted to belong. They wanted to be cool. They wanted to be heard. They wanted to be listened to. They wanted to feel like they were part of something. And that's what we did at Barstool Sports in a way that no other media company has done. And that's really what I believe that anybody can do. I spent most of my career growing up in media, and media was big Titanic companies, NBC, CBS, ESPN, CNN, you name it. But the reality is anyone with a phone is a media company at this point. And so the real question is, how can you make people feel like they belong with you? How can you make them feel heard? How can you make them feel seen? We called it if you know, you know, right? And that was the glory. If you saw someone in our early days of Barstool, if you saw someone with a Stool and Stars logo on their hat, or you heard someone being referred to as an AWL and you were an AWL, do we have any AWLs here? No award-winning listeners? No one here listens to Pardon My Take? Huh. All right. Well, anyways, for the people who do, they would see other people who did, and they would create a feeling of connection. And that insider feeling of connection is becoming really important because the world is getting very fake, and it is also getting insanely fragmented. There are 50 million influencers in the world right now. By 2030, there are going to be 30 billion. And probably half of them are fake and AI and bots, but like that's what we're up against. So the feeling of creating community, having people buy into you, having people feel heard and seen is really, really important. And it's really important to pick up on the nuances of that. One of the things, we bought this company called Old Row. I bought this company 2 months into being at Barstool. And it was kind of a bunch of frat guys from Dallas. And they had built a big following on college campuses. They were really followed by kids who went to ag schools in the South. And what we learned was that the Barstool crowd, and mostly guys, wanted to have a thinner t-shirt with the logo on the front. And girls wanted to be with guys who were wearing Barstool merch. And well, we tried that with Old Row. We tried that. We tried marketing it. We tried manufacturing it. We tried promoting it, and it didn't work. And what we realized was that in the South, they wanted a thicker T-shirt. They wanted the logo on the back. They didn't wear T-shirts to games the way Northeast kids did. And guys wanted to be with girls who they saw wearing Old Row. So we would always put guys' T-shirts on girls. And so it's that type of nuance that is really going to drive differentiation. And I give that as an example of being really attuned to what your fan is looking for is incredibly important. None of this is new if you're in the marketing school or you're thinking about marketing or you're in marketing clubs. Like, not a lot of this is new, but where it is happening has really, really changed. One of the biggest changes that I think is happening in modern media is that celebrity endorsement is not what it used to be. I always give the example, the below picture is Jamie Foxx. And Jamie Foxx stars in the all the MGM sports betting campaigns. I think they paid him, X number of millions of dollars to do that. And I can remember being in Philadelphia, and Dave Portnoy and I were in Philadelphia, and all the banners in the train station were for Jamie Foxx. And he looked huge, and the banners were glossy, and it looked very glamorous. He was in a tux, and there was a piano, and it looked like it was a theater. And then you had Dave Portnoy wheeling like a beat-up gray suitcase right through Pennsylvania Station, or Union, whatever it's called, I think it's Pennsylvania Station, and people could go up to him and say hi. He was real and he was relatable. This is authenticity, right? And that's why celebrity has changed. That's why Barstool is creating so many celebrities, is they are making people feel, what we did was to make people feel like they knew us and they could relate to us. And they rooted for us or they hated against us the way you would root or hate against a sports team. And that's what's really changing in the world of marketing. You have to motivate your fan. You have to motivate your customer. You've got to break through the clutter to be able to make somebody feel something so they want to do something with you. Is anybody following the Mormon Wives on TikTok? You guys are killing me. Like, what do you pay attention to? It's amazing. All right, well anyways, the Mormon TikTok thing is like really, really taking off. And I think what's interesting about it is it's everything that I'm talking about, right? It's a world. It's a world that's not widely understood. It is a glimpse into something that seems slightly outrageous, but also kind of relatable. And what the internet has done, it has given people a pathway to find whatever they are interested in. And the internet has created endless, endless ways for people to know you. And this is also why authenticity matters. Because if you say you're one thing, but you're something else on the internet, it's not going to jive, and people will not believe you. They will think you're fake. If you are not who you say you are, and this is particularly in my world where I spend a lot of time thinking about brands, if you are not who you say you are, or you go against the values you seem to project, your fans will revolt against you. This is a look at the Barstool Sports Reddit. The Barstool Sports Reddit is like a nasty, dark little place, but it's it really is. But it's also insatiable. And the reality is to be a brand that matters, your haters are your marketing team. People are going to find endless ways to obsess over you. And if you are not true about who you are and what you stand for and what you represent, they will revolt. Do you remember the Pepsi thing with Kendall Jenner? Does anybody remember that? So this is the perfect example. This isn't the only example. I think Bud Light is probably the most recent, best example of a brand being confused about A, who it is, B, what it stands for, and C, who it serves. And when brands go against audiences, the audiences can revolt. And this is the case of people were upset about the Kendall Jenner piece. The whole headline on that ad campaign, which probably cost Pepsi millions and millions and millions of dollars in cost for the marketing, ended up costing them 10 times that in the perception of the brand and the propensity of their customers to buy. And that's because they weren't clear about who they are. The great thing for people and the bad thing for brands is that brands are not in charge anymore. And the reality is the democratization of media, the fact that everyone in this room is a media company, has changed the power dynamic. And that is really important when you think about being part of a business, right? If you look at the Bud, are you all familiar with the Bud Light example? You have to be, right? Okay. What was interesting about that is it wasn't even their CMO. It was a senior marketing person went on some no-name podcast with like 2,000 followers and was like, yeah, hey, we're kind of ashamed of our customer, right? We don't want to be fratty. We don't want to be promoting drinking. We want to be inclusive. We want to be progressive. And what happened is some Reddit troll probably from Old Row, picked that up and promoted that out everywhere. And the reality is that mistakes for brands and missteps for people happen in really, really small moments at times that are quite unexpected. And I think it's important to think about as people, as you're thinking about your career and your journey, but it's also important as you think about working with brands, because the reality is all it takes is one little misstep for it to become quite large and big. The greatest thing we did at Barstool Sports is that we gave everybody at Barstool Sports a voice. My dad used to always have this quote, which he would give to me often, which was, "The best control is no control." And that's how we ran Barstool Sports, which was we were very, very free. And in giving everyone a voice, we created the environment where people could be really authentic. And what I realized from my own voice was that what I was really obsessed with, what I wanted to talk about, where I felt I could be the most authentic, was in talking about work. We'll transition to talking a little bit about work. This is my career. I drank a lot of beer at Colby College. I became a receptionist, and my first job, really was an internship my senior year. I was a receptionist at Fidelity. And I cut my hair really short. I started wearing I didn't have any money, but I really strived to wear leftover Ann Taylor separates, which is a brand none of you have heard of. And I stared at a glass door every single day, and I was bored. And what I realized was that the only way of getting out of being a receptionist was to do every job imaginable on the 12th floor of 82 Devonshire Street, which is where I worked. And I crushed being a receptionist. Like, there was not a thing I wouldn't file, there wasn't a coffee I wouldn't go get. I did anything to not stare at a glass door all day. And it was a really, really, really good experience for me. One, it got me a job at Fidelity, but two, it taught me that I had to figure it out for myself. And I had to use my own energy. I wasn't the smartest person in there. I was literally the lowest person on the totem pole. But by showing initiative, by being willing to be coached, by being willing to do all the crap that nobody else wanted to do, I was able to get a bigger job from it, and I was able to learn skills and build confidence. And that's really important in a career. My career has been very windy. I've had big moments, I've had low moments, I've been laid off, I've been promoted, I'm now on my second CEO gig. Your careers are also going to be really windy. And my biggest piece of advice, we had a great session before this, is just get started. You know, it doesn't matter that your first job isn't perfect. It doesn't matter that so-and-so that you know has a better internship than you do, or a greater first job, or is making twice the money. Just get started. And if you get started and you say to yourself, I'm not going to stare at a glass door all day, I'm going to figure out what I need to do, you can unlock a lot of things for yourself. And I think that's what's really, really important. When I got my first job at Fidelity after being the receptionist, I was making $50,000 a year, which I still think that's a lot of money. And I hated it. I was super bored. I was like, ugh, I'm in the legal department. Like, everything was beige, it was dusty, it was like the business of no. And I realized I didn't want to work in the legal department, which at that point everyone was like, you're crazy, you have a cushy job, you're making a lot of money. What I basically did was went out all night and then wrote like 12-page emails describing what we did the night before. Like, that's what I did for a year. And I wasn't very fulfilled by it, and I wanted to work in advertising. And the Fidelity people they didn't think highly of marketing and advertising. The legal people went to Harvard, and the advertising people were like the state school people. And the legal people were mostly men, and the advertising people were mostly women. And I said, you know what, there's a digital marketing coordinator job, and I really want to take this job. And I told it to the HR lady who, you know, she didn't use the F word, but she was basically like, you're effing crazy. You shouldn't do that. That's a dumb move. And I did it anyways. So I went from making $50,000 a year in the legal department to making $17,000 a year. And it was the greatest thing I ever did. It changed my entire career. It changed my entire life. And the reason I'm telling you that story is that if you can take a jump that other people think is foolish, but you have that little voice inside of you, or that little place or piece in your brain that's like, I know this is the right path for me. If you can take the risk to do it, incredible things can happen. And I'm living proof that taking a lot of crazy jumps in a career can make really great things happen. This is how I start my book. Who is this book for? Anyone who wants a change at work and understands that change at work is a gateway to changing your life. Anyone who knows they're not perfect, but inside them somewhere, there's some genius just dying to get out and see the light of day. Anyone who wants something so badly, they're willing to fuck up and try a lot to get it. Or for anyone who wants something so badly but is not yet brave enough to go for it. Everyone who has to work. And by that I mean, they can't just show up, eat the free snacks, network, talk about how important they are, and then go home. This book is for people who actually do work. And I really believe that. And work is the greatest gateway to change your life. And what my hope is that in some way this conversation sparks you to go find your path and to go make your career. Who this book is not for is equally as important. And one of the things for me in being authentic and writing it was setting up who this is for and who this isn't for. This book is not for people whose goal in life is belonging to some douchey country club, or if it matters whether you're on the adult tennis A team versus the B team, this book is not for you. If you like rules and following them, this book is not for you. If you're a preservationist, this book is not for you. If you're toxic, hold other people back, or shame other people down, this isn't for you. If you've never done anything but live off your parents and you feel pretty satisfied by that, the book is not for you. If you're afraid of doing something that makes you happy but you won't ever go for it because you might not get invited to some dumb dinner party, this book is not for you. And if you pretend to work but don't really, again, this isn't for you. And I think every person, you're writing the book of your own life, you're writing the book of your own career, you're writing the book of your own education. Being clear about who you are for and who you are not for, and who you are about and what you are about and what you are not about is really, really important. I'll speed through the next thing and then we can do a bunch of Q&A if that works for folks. I think there's two things that totally screw you at work and also in life. One is your ego and two is your insecurity. And my belief is that if you can put your ego and your insecurity into the back seat, you can be more productive, you can be more fulfilled, you can be a better listener, you can be a better partner, you can be a better friend, you can be a better manager, you can be a better employee. When I talk to a lot of women, I always get the question about imposter syndrome, right? Like, what if I can't do it, or I don't know enough, or I'm not good enough, or somebody's gonna be better than me at this. Insecurity and the idea that you are not good enough is deafening, right? I don't know if anybody has that voice in their head. Like, that voice is loud, it is forceful, it is omnipresent, and it is a choice if you decide to listen to it or not. And the answer is, really, you probably aren't good enough, right? You probably don't know enough. There is somebody who's probably better than you, but who cares? Go for it, right? So that's what I mean when I talk about putting aside your insecurity. And then the same with your ego, right? I spend a lot of time with people at work. I spend a lot of time at work. And the people I always dislike at work the most are the people who think they have nothing to learn. And the people who think that they can't pick up something from the lowest person. I hate the managing up crowd. And if you can put your ego away and this idea that you're so great and you're so good and you're so smart and you're so accomplished and you're so much better than everybody else around you, when you have that ego, it really prevents you from listening. And by putting those two things away, it enables you to be more present and more open to the people around you and to the task at hand. One of the things that I really believe is that success is a terrible teacher, because success makes you feel invincible and it makes you have an ego. And failure can be an awesome teacher because it means you have to keep figuring stuff out. And that's what's really, really important. One of the things I spend a lot of time thinking about is, what does it mean to be great at work? And to be honest, if you're going to school here, school is work, right? That's your job. What do you need to do to be great at work? You've got to be who you are, right? You have to be authentic. You have to show up every day as you and be great as you. Two, you have to think about what you have to offer. I think a lot of times at work or in class or in life, people spend a lot of time thinking about what everybody else has to offer or doesn't have to offer, versus showing up with the gifts that you have. And you may have a different set of gifts than everybody else, or a different set of tools, or a different set of abilities, but really focusing on what you have to give is important. And associating yourself with people who have things to give is also really important. I believe that environment is really relentless. And so if you surround yourself with a bunch of people who just talk down at everybody else, or say everyone else sucks, or this company stinks and I hate it here, chances are you're going to pick up that same attitude, not because you want to, but because you can't avoid it, right? You're just going to. It's like osmosis. If you surround yourself with people who are really motivated, who are positive, who have something to learn, those people can make you better because you're going to pick up their skills in the same way that they pick up yours. How you show up is a choice. Positivity is a choice. I think the greatest shortage on the planet is positive energy. And the more energy you can have and the more infectious you can be about it, the more people will want to be around you. The more you think about how you use your time, I write in the book, and I really think this, is that the dumbest people at companies are the people who don't understand what their company pays them to do. There are a lot of these people. But the second is the people who waste their time. And your time is your time, and it is your choice what you do with it, and really making sure that you have a plan for you about how to use your time is critically important, as is caring. One thing people ask me all the time is like, what's your greatest criteria for hiring someone? What are the skills people need to have? And the greatest thing is that you just have to care. And caring goes a long way. Like a person who cares versus a person who's talented, the person who cares usually wins. Setting up yourself to think about failure and thinking about failure as something that is positive is a big unlock. And I really believe this, which is you can fail every which way to Sunday, and you're an optimist, and it's going to work out, which I'll talk about in a minute. But really having this mindset that failure is a positive helps you learn. The more you try things, the more you do, the more you trip up, the more you learn. This is a look at a matrix. It's unclear who wrote it, but it's really looking at getting out of your comfort zone. And the phases that go from feeling safe and control and being squarely in your comfort zone to being in a growth zone. And one thing that I think a lot about is how can I as a manager, or how can you as a partner or a friend or a mentor or as a coworker, how can you get yourself into a growth zone? And how can you help people around you also get to a growth zone? And being in the growth zone means being confident, right? It means understanding that you're gonna mess up. It means taking risks. It means being willing to learn. It means being open to what people have to say. Part of the reason Barstool Sports was so successful and drove 15,000% growth over 8 years was that we were squarely in a growth zone, always. We tried everything. And when things didn't work and we messed up or there's a bad headline, we addressed it. We were like, oh yeah, we screwed up. Here's what we learned. Here's what we would have done differently. Here's how we're going to do it again. Getting into a growth zone helps you develop and become something that you're not today. And being confident and being comfortable while you're uncomfortable can be the greatest skill you have to being able to move through whatever life is going to throw at you. And life is going to throw a lot of stuff at you. I said this before, but I really believe this, and I see this in my own life, which is even when you make the stupidest decision or you screw up or something goes wrong, most people are optimists, and you're going to say, oh, that wasn't great. I messed up at this. It didn't go well, but this happened as a result. And I tend to think this is all how we look at life anyways, so why not try to fail? Why not try to grow? Why not try to experience things? Is anyone familiar with this Chris Rock quote? Have you guys heard this? There's 4 ways to get attention. This is from his comedy special. 1 is to show your ass. 2 is to be infamous. 3 is to be insanely talented. And 4 is to be a victim. Which do you think is the easiest? Probably showing your ass. I would agree with that. But the second one is decidedly being a victim. And is anyone familiar with this, the drama triangle? Have you all seen this? Okay, so the drama triangle I see a lot at work, I see a lot in life, but the drama triangle is that you think of yourself in 3 ways. You're either the hero, you're the villain, or you're the victim. And most of all, people think of themselves as victims. I think victim level thinking is so tedious and unattractive and uninspiring that the more we can spend time thinking about how you are learning from where you fail versus being having everything be something else's fault, someone else's fault, having everything be because of someone or something else. If you are stuck in a victim mindset, it is going to be very, very difficult to grow. There is a lot that is going against you, and there will always be a lot that is going against you. The more you can harness tackling it, you don't always have to be a hero. Sometimes you're going to be a villain, but the most important thing is to get out of being a victim. And then the last couple things on that is it stinks to mess up, right? Part of failing always is feeling badly when you fail. I feel like shit all the time because you know what? I'm trying to figure things out. I'm trying to do things and I'm not good at a lot of it. And not only recognizing, hey, I'm trying to do something that's difficult, but B, saying, this is rationally how I think about when I mess up, how I can be better, and then emotionally taking care of yourself to say, hey, I'm gonna give myself 24 hours to take to my bed, or I'm gonna sulk for a day. Being gentle with yourself to move through failure is really, really important. And doing that and also rationalizing how you're gonna clean up the spilt milk is really, really critical. The last piece I'll give you is having a vision. I think having a vision is something everybody can have. And what a vision means to me, it sounds kind of fluffy and it's like, but a vision is really, who do I want to be or what do you want to accomplish? For me, my vision was I always wanted to be a CMO. I wanted to be a CMO. I wanted to grow in my career. I wanted the title. I wanted the responsibility, and it gave me something to work for. Your vision could be moving across the country. Your vision could be graduating with honors. Your vision could be, being a better friend, right? You can have 1,000 visions at once, but the great thing about having a vision is that a vision propels you, and it enables you to take all those little failures every single day and puts them in a package of creating progress. And that really is my hope for you. I think that's the greatest thing we did at Barstool Sports. I think that's the greatest thing that's been the gift of my career, is the idea of harnessing progress and the idea of being part of something and being open to everything that could make me a better version of who I am today. And I think that's something that everyone here is capable of. And that's it. Do we want to do questions? Okay.
Who has questions?
Is this working? Oh.
Yep.
You're awesome. I want to know what the riskiest marketing campaign you ever created was that worked out.
Oh, geez. The riskiest marketing campaign we ever did that worked out. We've done a lot of marketing. I think High Noon was the riskiest campaign that worked out. When we liked the taste of High Noon, and so I had gone to Gallo, who makes High Noon, and I had said, hey, if you give us a royalty for every can of High Noon that we sell, we'll make a crazy campaign for you. And they were like, High Noon was kind of a nothing. Like it wasn't big in their portfolio. Now it is a huge disruptor in the RTD, ready-to-drink space. And the campaign we created was called Nooners. And the idea that you would just drink during the day, which the Gallo people were like, we don't know about that. And the mainstream people were like, we don't know about that. But Nooners made people feel like it was an occasion. We were trying to own Saturdays, really. We had created Saturdays for the Boys. We launched Saturdays for the Boys in 2016. That was probably the riskiest one. But Saturdays for the Boys were all about, hey, live Saturday, right? When I got to Barstool Sports, I was like, Monday through Fridays are for the girls, and Saturdays can be for the boys. But the idea of owning a day really resonated with people, and the idea of like taking a break and taking a load off and being cool because you were drinking a High Noon was what made that really successful.
Hello. Two-pronged question here. So in my experience, business has been, it's very important to care about your day-to-day in what you do in your company and not necessarily the value that it creates. So the first question is, do you agree with that? And the second question is, what do you care about at Barstool Sports? Like, what is your day-to-day care that makes you so driven to work at it so hard day in and day out?
Okay, great. Did everybody hear that? Two-part questions are tough. So on the first one, I would say I do agree with that. I remember, does anyone here read The Athletic? Does anyone know The Athletic? Okay. I like The Athletic, but I remember I was new into Barstool, and it was 2016, and I went to San Francisco, and the investor in Barstool was like, oh, you should meet the founders of The Athletic. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. So I wrote the founders, and they were like, let's meet at the Four Seasons. And I was like, geez, must be good to work at The Athletic. I was like eating lunch in like a ham sandwich in a hallway because we had no money at Barstool Sports. So I go to the Four Seasons. I'm hoping they're paying for breakfast versus Barstool Sports. And I asked the founders what their motivation was. And one of the founders, I'll never forget it, and I hate The Athletic because of it, even though I read it, but he was like, intergenerational wealth. And I was like, what an asshole. Like, you're in this because you want your kids to have money from you? Like, that's a horrible, horrible motivation. So I agree. I think if you're not, I don't think the people who just want the results, a lot of money or titles or press or whatever, I don't think they're very interesting, and I don't think they last very long, because the reality is that's not motivating to other people. People don't want to buy into people who are about themselves. For me, I left Barstool in 2023, and now I have a new company. I love problems. I wake up every day, like, I can't wait to go to work because there's something to fix, and there's someone to learn from, or there's something to do. And we talked about this earlier this morning, which is, I think you have to find a gear in yourself, whether you work at a coffee shop, or you're a waitress, or you're getting through, chemistry or whatever discipline you're studying, that's like, I want to figure this out. I want to learn it. I want to do it with other people. And I think that's what motivates me, is just problem solving, figuring things out, change. I find change to be really, really rewarding. I can be very difficult to work for because I like change, and I don't mind chaos. And that's really what Barstool gave me, which is Barstool was so chaotic that I was like, bring it. Like any job, it was so chaotic that it made you comfortable being in chaos. And a lot of people don't like chaos. So I struggle with that more so.
Hi, so you cover some very timely and important concepts and topics, so thanks for the presentation. We understand how some of these could be applied to individuals and also even groups or corporations, right? Because you cover some examples. So would it work, though, for all kinds of organizations? And I kind of hesitate for a split second to ask this, but you've had 3 days to think about this answer. Democratic versus Republican, or any two parties, does any of this explain the results of this election?
Oh.
Because you talk about being authentic and
Yeah.
being positive, and
Oh, you're really going there, huh? I think this election was so fascinating, right? I think it's fascinating in that the country is just really, really polarized, and we are in an era of identity. And I think it's true for politicians. I think it's true for people, which is everyone here needs to work under the operation that people are going to hate you and talk about you on the internet. Like, that's just a reality. And I think I think the greatest people in the future, and hopefully there will be people in this room who lead this, have to bring people together. I tend to think, Donald Trump just upended the Republican Party, what they stand for, who they are. He's a genius marketer. Whether you detest him or want to run into a fire for him, he is a genius marketer, genius. And what he did was even though he insulted people, he made people want to be with him, and especially working class people. I think the Democrats haven't done that, right? There was a great piece yesterday from a Latina woman who was like, hey, the Democrats don't talk to me. And I think the Democrats have kind of like their heads in a pretzel. Do they want to go all the way to the edge and be liberal? Do they want to go to the center? I think they've kind of lost what they stand for. You saw it in the election, which is they just don't have any solid ground. They're not on solid footing. And I think that's what the Democrats are going to need to think about. I thought the election was kind of shocking. Like when I looked at the map, I was like, holy cow, like this country is just really, there's 2 lines on either side that are blue and the rest is red. And so I think part of it is clearly the future of politics will be in that red. It's that red area that politicians are going to have to figure out. All right. Oh, yes.
Like you, I really like to solve problems and start over. Like Monday, every morning, I get excited. So I'm curious, at your level, what does it mean to start over? Or like, how do you approach it? And for that, the question is, you mentioned how starting in Barstools, you had your back to the wall, and how from there it was just moving forward and trying wild things. So how is that scenario different now that after 10 years of being a CEO, starting a new CEO position at a different scenario? Can you tell us more about like how do you approach it differently? How are you seeing the future of Food 52 or yourself approaching it?
Yeah,
as a
I
CEO?
think that's a great question. I think reinventing yourself is really important, and anybody can do it at any given time. Food 52 is a really different company. When I showed up at Barstool, they didn't even have an email, right? They didn't have a P&L, so they didn't know how much money they had. They weren't sure who was on payroll, and they didn't have an email system. So in hindsight, it was so easy to be good. You know, I was like, oh, let's have email, you know? So that was a little bit of a gift. Food 52 is really different in that Food 52 has been around since 2014 with a lot of different management, and there's a lot of scaffolding that has to be taken down, and it's a really different challenge for me. I'm having to dig deep in being patient, like really, really dig deep in creating change, but also recognizing sometimes to go to a new place, you got to step back and then springboard. So I think change is really important. You know, I think one thing that young people in particular get caught in is that like you've got to have it all figured out right now, and you got to be who you're going to be now. And the reality is like I'm in my late 40s, and I just made a crazy career change. And I didn't have to, and a lot of people would be like, you're an idiot, why did you do that? But that's the same thing they said the last time I made a big change. So I think it's good to put yourself in a situation where you 70% know what you're doing, and 30% you're like, I gotta wing this, I have no idea. And that's kind of how I look at it. And then I think the other piece is to create change, you've really got to break things to small pieces, otherwise it's really overwhelming. And for me, I really am focused on like, okay, I want to do this crazy big thing. I want to take Food 52 and make it into a media company and this, that, and the other thing. But I got to break that down into like a bunch of little things that I can win every single day and that I can get people to buy into with me and to want to build it with me. So that's kind of how I think about it.
You might have answered this already. Hi, I wanted to talk about
God, where are
failure.
you?
Up here.
Up, woohoo!
Talking about failure, so when I started my company, of course you want to do well, and so you get nervous about failing, but then you realize all the good that can come out of failure, as you said. But then as you grow, so many other people are dependent on you, or you know, look to you or rely on you. What's your mindset to try to get in that creative space and not be afraid to fail when so many other people are starting to depend on you?
Yeah, it's hard. That was hard for me at Barstool, where, you know, at the beginning of Barstool, I was just worried about payroll. We had $2 million in the bank. I think the athletic guy had like $40 million in the bank, so like that's why we're at the Four Seasons. He's like talking about intergenerational wealth. But it was really easy to make change when there wasn't a lot of people and there wasn't a lot of responsibility. When we got to 450 people, I was like, oh God, like this is 450 families that are dependent on somebody's income here. I still think you have to keep going. And for me, you know, what was interesting about Barstool was that we went from $5 million in revenue to $300 million of revenue in 8 years, which was a crazy climb. And what that meant was running the company at 50 million was totally different than running the company at 200 million. And it required different infrastructure, it required different staff, it required different processes. And I was less interested at 450. I didn't like it as much. I didn't think it was as entrepreneurial. I didn't think it was as creative. I was spending more time managing people problems than I was creating vision. And so for me, this is just my perspective, is if you're someone who likes ideas and making things, then you've got to stay, and this is actually to your point of like, what am I learning at Food 52? I like ideas. I like being on the edge. I want to go make the new next thing. And for me, it means I have to have somebody next to me who is really good at the math and is really operational. And I find myself least effective and most negative when I'm trying to be the operations person. And so for me, thinking about creating vision when things are big, one is, your job is to keep the business growing. Your job isn't to make sure people have income in their families. That's their job. The second is protecting your vision and your energy for vision versus operation, I think is really important, especially as things get bigger. And I think it's true when people start to manage people, right? You manage 2 people, it's fine. You start managing 10 people and peers you used to be, people who used to be peers for you, it becomes really challenging, and it's easy to lose that thing that made you great in the first place. So always thinking about what makes you great, what makes you happy, where you can have the greatest impact, and protecting it, I think is insanely important.
As a woman leading major brands, what unique challenges have you encountered, and how do you believe companies can better support women in executive roles?
I think you shouldn't think about gender at work. Like, I don't go to work every day and I'm like, I'm a woman. Like, I'm obviously a woman, or hopefully, but like, I do think that women have their own set of challenges, and there are things that are particularly challenging for women. I have this belief that women are the best wartime CEOs. We just haven't had the chance yet. We just haven't seen enough of us yet. And the reason is, one of the superpowers I think women, and this is a generalization, have is that they notice things. We're taught to notice things. Whether it was your mom and you're picking up stuff in your house, or you're just noticing people, and women are very, very, very observant. And being very, very observant is a great superpower in a company, an insane superpower. And so, I think that women will be more present in executive rooms. It's pathetic now. I was having a conversation earlier. I sit on 3 boards. I'm the only woman on all of them. And that's lame. It's 2024. I think the most important thing is to be visible for other women, to be supportive of other women, and to hold women to as high a standard as men. I don't like when people say that women shouldn't be criticized or shouldn't be treated the same as men. I'm like, bring it. Like, we should be right. That's what equality is. That's what feminism is. But I think women need to be most visible, and part of the reason, I took the Barstool Sports job. I never wanted to be public. I find it very uncomfortable, but I also am like, you know what? It's important for women to see another woman struggling and trying to figure things out and messing up and not being perfect and trying to get things done. And the more we can show that, the more it will normalize women and people really of all genders in executive positions. And then the other is just like, whether you're a woman or you're a deaf person, whatever, like, hire somebody who doesn't look like you. Hire somebody who doesn't have the skills you have. Hire somebody who doesn't come from the same place you do. And I've always really tried to surround myself with people who are A, better than me, and B, really different from me. And I think that's important. And I got the Barstool Sports job really because they gave me a chance. And they didn't have to, they just gave somebody who didn't look like them a chance. And I think that's a great gift that everyone here can pass on.
Will you take 2 more questions?
I sure will.
So you transitioned from Barstool Sports to Food 52, which is like really different. And you said you loved the chaos that happened at Barstool Sports. Do you still get that from Food 52?
No, the Food 52 people cry all the time. It's weird. The bathrooms are way cleaner. Like the office is so nice, like so nice. But they do cry all the time, which I struggle with. And I'm like, not kidding. They actually cry all the time. And the great thing about the thing I loved about Barstool is just everything was out there, right? So like speaking of being a woman, like Barstool is, for all of Barstool's perception, Barstool was the least sexist place I ever worked because everything was out in the open. Like it was happening on Twitter as it was happening in real life. And that made people feel and think certain things about Barstool, but it made things really efficient because it was just playing out. I think Food 52 is really different. I think Food 52 is going to become very different. You know, I've been there 6 months, so I'm a little bit in the old guard versus the new guard. I think Food 52 will never be Barstool Sports. Nothing will be Barstool Sports. But Food 52 will be younger and hungrier and more dynamic and more risk-taking and more creative. I struggle with the institution, and I think a lot of, in the lifestyle, home, and food space, there's a lot of people who are like, I know more than you, I'm an expert and an authority. And I just think that's kind of untrue. Like, if you watch food is the third biggest category on TikTok. And it's not authorities, it's everyday people baking and making food and celebrating life in the kitchen or being vegans or whatever. So we will move to that. So we'll see. I'll make it a good one.
So you seem to have displayed this idea of, unwavering resolve that, you can do anything regardless of what it is. And I think it's a very admirable trait to have, but a lot of people don't have that. So I'm wondering, in your professional career, have you ever faltered on this? And if so, how did you recover from it?
All right, I am a crazy person and have like a lot of energy. So I'm like a puppy that has to be run. So I think that's been effective for me in my career. I have faltered a million times. To this day, I'm faltering at Food 52, right? I'm gonna falter whatever company I work for next. I think the lowest point I had was 2 low points. One, when I was laid off from Fidelity. I was in the marketing job, and Fidelity went through a layoff, which seems really weird in hindsight, but I was part of it, and I was so panicked that I would not have another job that I took a nannying job. I was so desperate. Like the day I got laid off, I was like, I have to find another job. And I went to go be a nanny. I was a terrible nanny. And I found a new job within 2 weeks and didn't end up nannying. But the panic, making a decision in panic I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like the decision I made. I didn't feel like I was in control and thoughtful about what I was gonna be. And so I think the biggest thing is find what gives you energy, right? Even if you work the dumpiest, loserish company, just find something there that gives you energy, that you can make happen. Bring that positive energy and find something there that you can accomplish. And then be prepared for when things don't go well. And think ahead of time about what you're going to do, because I think the worst feeling to feel is emotional, and you've got to do something. And that was a point for me where I was like, oof, like I don't like the feeling of making decisions from a place of vulnerability. I think that's really bad things happen in that. So I don't know, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, good. I hope so. Oh, good. Okay, great. I'm going to walk over here then. Okay. Or do I stay here with you?
No, you can go back down, and I just have a couple housekeeping. Thanks to Erica for those inspiring remarks. Let's give her another round of applause. And thanks to all of you for engaging and joining us today. Before we leave, I would like to announce the 3 winners of Erica's book, Nobody Cares About Your Career, from our Saunders College of Business social media giveaway. The winners are Isabel Rapalist, Bertan Berger, and Zoe Levin. Please stop by the Saunders table to retrieve your prize. This concludes our keynote event. Please join us in Fireside Lounge across the hallway for a book signing reception with Erica. We'll see you there.